there going to be amount of adaptability from either side?
You could see Boom even yesterday, right? Like they already adapted. They already played a little bit different than what they usually do. One game they went this full early game aggression, which didn't work out for them. The second game they fell back into their full comfort zone. I feel like they actually stepped away quite significantly from what they were doing in the group stages, and it's not a healthy sign for me, at least.
Yeah, it's with Boom. It's like it's either they're still trying to find their play style, or they have many play styles. But it feels more like the first, because like it seems like they're reacting to a loss by like, okay, let's do something new, or let's go out of our comfort zone, because they've had a lot of drafts which feel out of their comfort zone.
Yeah, I spoke like a little bit with their manager, and he was saying that like they had spent 2 days preparing for the LGD match.
Maybe they should have prepared less, right?
I mean,
like,
yeah. I mean, maybe you could spin it like that. I didn't personally enjoy their drafts in how I view their style. I think that the ideas were good. I don't know how much they've scrimmed with it. I think Venno at this point for me is like a failed experiment hero. I just have never seen him be successful. People pick him against like the Augs, the Ursas. It's meant to destroy these lanes. It was picked in that game against the Faceless Void, yeah. And by the end of the laning stage, the carry's like 1 to 2k net worth up on the Venomancer, and he just is feeding throughout the mid game. It feels really bad.
Who do you feel is a notable player on each side of the team? Someone that they might be looking to focus a little bit more either for themselves in the draft or as their opponent to try and shut down?
If you're looking at Boom, there are two players that come to my mind instantly: Yopaj and FBZ, right? Like you try and eliminate FBZ's most popular heroes most likely, and the game is instantly easier. Like just imagine FBZ on Mars and then anything else like that. Mars just dominates the games, and it enables them to make some really good combos like Mars Snapfire.
Yeah, I guess I kind of disagree with the FBZ, because I feel like he's proven that he can have good games even when he's not helped.
On anything, yeah.
Yeah, like to me the Boom playstyle in the past where they've had the most success was where they prioritize more like playing around Yopaj and Tims. Like often FBZ will be on some Mars and Tims will just be actively roaming, and FBZ is getting kind of sacked and having a bad-ish game until he gets his blink time.
And then he's still active, right?
Yeah. Like they definitely like FBZ is like the big playmaker, but like Tims is the guy who like plays around Yopaj, sets him up for success with all these like mid rotations. Yeah. In Boom's like their classic playstyle. That's not what they do every game, but that to me is when they look best.
That was like the story of their final match against Talon, right? Like the game one, the Pango Mars was banned out in round 1, and like they kind of won. Like I think FBZ was on his Razor, it didn't look very good, they kind of won. Then the next game he kind of came out, I think it was a DP maybe, but he showed that I don't only rely on these two heroes. Game 3 he got his Mars clean sweep. What can I say?
That's it. Like every time you say his Mars, it's a clean sweep, right? Yeah. For me that means that when they play these kind of heroes, they're on perhaps a slightly elevated level.
Liquid had their day off yesterday. They didn't play. Boom, we saw go up against LGD. So what are you hoping Liquid has been able to do in that day to try and adjust from group stages?
Scrim. Practice. Get ready.
Is there anything specific, though, that you saw in group stages that you hope they really focused and worked on?
Honestly, not specifically in terms of gameplay. Just through watching Liquid's content, seeing how they like reacted to their loss at Stockholm, a lot seemed to be on the mental side. Like this is a very talented team. They're like the group A was like incredibly hard, and they are like always one win, like small series win away from going like upper bracket and lower bracket. So really I just hope that they're coming into this positively and like feel good about themselves, feel confident. Like confidence is the main thing.
I completely agree with this point, because I feel that Liquid, they have everything that's necessary to go all the way even, right? But you need to come in confident. Sometimes resting is better than over preparing, right? For me, resting is always better than preparing. but for them it might also be the case, because from what I've read and from what I've seen in their games, they have a really good read on the current meta.
Yeah, we saw Boom fall to LGD yesterday. Liquid looked really good against LGD despite not getting a win in that group stages. But I don't want to hold this up any longer. We are going to jump into this series. It's Boom up against Liquid.
This This is one hell of an opening game. It's an elimination match and an important match for both teams, with both Liquid and Boom hoping to qualify for TI off the back of this. Now, I'm going to start with you, Skem, and just ask, the games yesterday against LGD, right? Obviously, it's LGD, but how does that kind of a loss affect you guys in mentality?
I think it's a good loss for us because we learn a lot from them. And yeah, hopefully we will perform today.
That's what it's all about, right? Learning from the mistakes and continuing forward. But what do you think of Liquid as a team? Do you think this is a comfortable matchup for you guys?
I think they are a good and strong team. Yeah.
Okay, a strong team, but do you consider yourselves to be the favorites in it?
Not really. I think the matchup is just 50-50.
50-50. But so what's it going to take then for you to get the win?
I think it just depends on who performed good today.
Okay, well, hopefully you do perform well. Now, Insania, you obviously in the group stage, it was a bit of a tough one, right? Only one game that you got away with the win on that. Where would you kind of put your current form right now? Do you think you guys are at your best, or what's lacking? What have you been looking at here?
Soon we'll be peaking.
In this game, right?
Hopefully.
And obviously, when we did an interview before, right, earlier in the week, you were talking about how much you wanted to get to TI again, right? How important this is to you. Well, this is the game you can do it. Are you feeling extra pressure now?
I'm just reminding myself not to pick Gyro and make sure I keep track of the bans and picks. And yeah, I think that's it.
That's it. And what do you make of Boom? Do you think it is a 50-50 matchup like Skem was just saying, or do you feel more confident than he does?
I mean, I think when you're at a major, every team is really good. So most matchups are very close to 50-50. I think maybe some teams are slightly better, slightly worse, but if you don't play to your best ability, you're going to lose. So.
Well, let's see if you do play to your best ability. Thank you very much, guys. We'll get ourselves into this game. We'll see how this one's going to go down, and we'll get ourselves back to the desk.
Thank you so much, Banks. You know, there's one thing I enjoy more than good Dota. It's knowing that people learn from their mistakes. A great interview from Insania there. Great point. Not going to pick the gyro there for himself.
Hey, it's not about picking the gyro. It's about randoming it. Thank you.
It was definitely a questionable thing that happened. But speaking of drafts, heroes, whatnot, did you guys really like Boom's drafts, the new things that they brought out yesterday? I think the notable thing being that offlane Veno.
They picked Doom too. Mm-hmm. That's a hero you don't pick, as we learned from the stats. But no, the offlane Veno I think was the big one that stood out. It's just not a hero that suits FBZ's style. It also is just not really a game-winning hero. It feels like you're picking entirely for the lane, which is kind of what Viper is, but it's like a way worse Viper in so many ways.
You're so right. It's actually so sad. He's just as slow as Viper, but like more defenseless.
Less scaling, doesn't have, and then like Viper actually has some stuff like you get the shard in the mid game. Maybe you can kind of team fight around a BKB. Like, you don't want to go BKB on Veno. Like, what do you do with a BKB on Veno?
You know what the worst thing is? On paper, that was a really good Venomancer game. So if we couldn't do anything in that kind of a game, like, the hero is probably not that great. I just hope that they don't resort to these last-ditch niche picks that counter the enemy carry or something like that, which they did do yesterday. That Veno was against the Faceless Void. The lane should be much better than it should have went much better than it went. Plus, it's against the Shaker, so you get that nasty snake. You get those nasty snakes everywhere, canceling his blink. On paper, it should have been all right, but you just can't find the right playstyle around that Venomancer on the offlane.
Yeah, we'll talk about the heroes and that we don't really like. I do know that there is a hero that is very highly contested, very hotly sought after, Sheep, and it is that Puck that we saw for the first time on Yopaj in what felt like forever yesterday.
Yeah, so it's obviously we've seen the most picked and banned heroes of this tournament, and Puck is right up there throughout Tour 3 as well, but Yopaj has not been picking it. The last time he played it pre this tournament was during Stockholm Major. He played it once. Before that, it was 5 months ago. Before that, it was 8 months ago. Like, for some reason, despite it being his fourth most played hero in competitive matches, he has not been spamming it. I think these. I was
going to say, by the way, I think this graphic is swapped. So Yopaj is the 1, and Mickey is actually the 3 with the 66.6% win rate.
Yeah, and so I'm Curious, obviously they brought it out against the LGD. I don't think it looked bad at all, honestly. I mean, like I said, it's one of his most played, so he is super comfortable on it. I'd love to see it come out again in this matchup because it looks good. He's played well on it. It matches his playstyle, it matches Boom's playstyle, and very strong.
I even feel it's kind of bad that Boom doesn't play, bad for Liquid, that Boom doesn't play a lot of puck, because that's probably the team with the most in their arsenal to counter the puck, and that's what they've been showing throughout the group stages, like the Lone Druid mid lane and whatnot. Like they have a ton of heroes and a ton of ways of dealing with the hero. But yeah, Boom, I don't think that they will be picking it. It didn't look that great, let's put it that way.
What? It looked good. It was fine. Okay, whatever. I think what's more important though for Boom is that they look like they struggle against puck a lot. When they played versus Aster, they had their full comfort lineup. The FBZ, Mars, Yopaj, Ember, like everyone was on like their best heroes. It felt like, and they still lost that game. And the puck was probably the biggest problem for them on the enemy team. I don't know if they've spoken more about how to deal with this hero, but obviously when it comes to pick and bans and like drafting, if you are not so good against the hero and can play it, it's, being able to just take it is an option to deal with it in the draft rather than just bans.
Yeah, and I guess like now it's one of those things that Boom probably aren't really going to roll that dice and play it again. Probably going to use one of their first phase bans for it. But speaking of other heroes what other heroes might they have hotly contested between the two teams? Things that complement both their playstyles that might look to be taken away from each other or in highly needed to be banned.
I think both teams like some of these pretty active forward positions. I think Tiny being the big one that overlaps both teams. I mean, everyone's kind of first phase picking, banning Tiny. It's not like this standout hero in terms of game impact, but it's the kind of hero that you can just pick at the first phase, flex it around. To me, that's the kind of hero. I think, if anything, they actually have a slightly different hero pool with the way they, Liquid love their Bristles, their Lone Druid, some of these Juggernauts. Like, I feel like it's kind of a fun draft because they are going to have different hero targets that they want to go for.
Yeah, Jackie does like the Jug, but overall, I don't think they've been touching Bristle, like you said, in Lone Druid, so those are going to be big issues for them.
For me, the biggest similarity between these two teams is they have Giga Brains on position 5s. On one side you have Scam, on the other Insania, and they kind of play the similar style of heroes too. Like your Wyverns can come in handy, you can see some Kottles even on 5, probably not in this patch, but
no, they like it for sure.
It's still doable, right?
Yeah.
So overall, they're your classic captains as well. Like Scam for me in Boom, like this team, if it didn't have Scam, they wouldn't make it this far. Like put in any stand in there, and I see them faltering much sooner, much faster. Like your Wyverns can come in handy. You can see some Kottles even on 5.
And what I like a lot about him too is other teams, like Chinese teams, come in, their 5s are playing pretty much like exclusively healing supports. Scam is willing to take on that more of playmaking. He'll take a Snapfire, he'll take a Rubik, and he'll look really good on it.
Yeah, because he doesn't enjoy playing 5. This man has played every single position.
I mean, end of the day though, let's be real. They're most, like Insania and Scam, most played hero this tournament so far, Dazzle.
I know you're a big fan of it. I just want to give a quick update though that the game coordinator right now is having some issues, so we're going to have a little bit of a delay on this first series, but it's fine. It means that we get a little bit more time to talk about these teams. We had a chat about Boom, where you guys thought some of their strengths were. We didn't actually get to touch on Liquid though, where you felt their strongest lanes or potential timings in this game have shown so far in the major.
I feel that once you see Liquid and once you see the games that they've played in the group stages, you identify a couple of problems that you need to address momentarily. Lone Druid is one of those, right? Like you see their game plan and you're like, okay, this hero, we either have to find a way of countering him or we just outright just ban him out in that first stage.
It's the most banned hero for teams playing Liquid. I think they've only played 2 Lone Druid games in the group stage.
Everyone bans it, yeah.
The other 12 times it was banned. So it's a hero that I think teams have picked up on that.
Because of that guy.
Yes, because
right there.
And you talk about their strength. To me, it really is this guy. He is the player that is most important to this Liquid team and their success. They have some other beasts. Like I think Zai is like top 3, top 5 offlaner in the world. But I think Matu is the guy that makes this team work and that, basically wins them games because of his hero pool. The fact he's not just playing the Bristles, the Lone Druids, he can play typical carries. He's kind of been put into this, I think, box at times where people are like, when he was on Nigma Galaxy, he's just like the green hero guy, the Venom Viper. He'll, just play some sacrificial hero to set Miracle up for success. And now in Liquid, he's showing again, hey, I can play, the Lone Druids, the Bristles, but he can also play the typical carries. He's got a great Lycan, but he's also got a great anti-mage. So he can play the hard carries. He can play like the crazy cheese heroes as well. He's the player that just wins Liquid games.
Yeah, those are like amazing points. And also, I think like it ties back to this puck problem too. Liquid will Lone Druid a puck without hesitation. If you are taking the puck on the first pick of the draft, they will happily Lone Druid. Yeah. And they love, when they do that, they like to put it mid versus the puck in lane, which makes his life even harder. And knowing that this is a strat just makes the puck issue just even more of a problem. Like Boom probably can't just take this. I think it just...
They just can't take puck, right?
They can't take puck.
Well,
I think it has
if
to
they
be
ban Lone Druid, maybe they can.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it ties all the way back to the beginning of the panel when we were discussing. They just have so many ways of dealing with the puck. And if you have ways of dealing with the most contested hero or top 3 most contested, I haven't checked the stats yesterday.
I'm pretty sure it's actually number 1. I do believe Puck is the most picked and banned hero so far at the major.
You're in a really good spot instantly. Like if you have ways of dealing with that, it just opens up possibilities for your draft.
With that all said, one of the games they did pick Lone Druid and Puck, they lost. I don't know if we take away... It looked good though, but they didn't win the game.
Well, that was the game with the Mickey Monkey King. I remember him trying his hardest to 1v9. That game was really, really hard for Lone Druid, actually. I think the response in draft after first phase was like really good.
Yeah, because I think that's the thing. Lone Druid is less scary when it's picked in the first phase. So if you're first picking Puck and they counter with Lone Druid, suddenly you've got the rest of your draft to answer a Lone Druid. So I think there's merit to considering it. I don't know if you want to do it, particularly in a game 1 when you want to get off to a good start, but if you know your opponents are going to pick this in response, being able to build a draft around something you know your opponents are picking can be like a preparation advantage that you can get.
For me, that game is just telling that you truly need a proper playmaker with the Lone Druid, right? Like you can't have these two. The way Mickey played as well, like the way he played Monkey King was kind of playmaking. He was jumping across the map. He was doing a lot.
He was their only stun.
He was their only stun, yeah. Perhaps you need something a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely looked great, and it was a very formidable opponent, by the way, in that game. It was LGD. So, there's a little bit of context with that. They looked great in that laning. So it bodes well, I think, for their mentality that they did play so well in that game despite getting the loss. You talked about, that they might need to bring out some new things. A hero that we have talked about and we've seen do very, very well, it has a great win rate and a lot of picks, is the Chen. But we haven't seen Liquid play that at all this major. Do you think it's in their wheelhouse? Do you think it's something that they might consider pulling out at least some point soon?
I can actually see Insania playing it, but I'm not sure like how versatile it is on them when it comes to position 4/5. But they always were a team that gets into the meta a little bit slower at the major, at the big tournaments, right? And perhaps they can show us some Chen today.
Yeah, it would be cool because I know Boom, they played it once this whole tournament, and I was like perusing the old Dota bus, and like Skem's been pubbing while here. He's been pubbing some Chen. He's got it like prepared and ready. I'd hope to potentially come out this series. The heroes looked insanely strong. Like a lot of these heroes this patch are like quite bad at dealing with creeps just running at you.
The problem is you've seen Senya right there. He strikes me like an honest man, an honest guy, right? And a Chen isn't an honest 5. Like,
he plays Eng.
No, it's different. It's different. Listen. Chen, he's like, I'm a 5, but not really. I'm taking map control. I'm taking farm. I'm constantly farming creep camps that were supposed to be farmed by either my carry or my mid laner. Then I'm split pushing or defending. Air quotes.
But it's about taking like the dangerous parts of the map, right? Like if the enemy's invaded your jungle, which is like how natural map progression goes, then you as a Chen can just like kind of situate yourself on the more safer camps and farm it with your creeps because that's safe. You're not committing your body to that. And I love that about Chen. I think that's a massive strength to the hero. You can just take dangerous farm.
It definitely is, but it also comes with a price. And that's your position 4 is underfarmed, underleveled, and usually struggling. I don't want to see Boxy struggling.
I think it depends the hero. Like some of the heroes he plays, like his Marcy, you can get away with having less farm. Like all you need is that Blink Dagger, perhaps. Yep. So I think what we've seen where Chen's most successful is with like the Shaker. Like the Shaker Chen seems to work really well. As long as you have Shaker enough space and room to maybe farm a Blink Dagger, that's all he needs to really be successful.
And they complement each other, right? Like Chen usually does not bring a lot of stuns. He brings the utility, the heals, the auras. Meanwhile, Shaker brings you that one spell, that one stun, and he's over.
Yeah.
That's it. All you need.
I could just feel good to be like, yeah, that's right. One spell. That's all Earthshaker has. He's so useless.
Speaking of Shakers, and his face just showed up on the screen, it's really cool seeing Jerax coaching Liquid recently. I asked Will about it, and he said, Blitz about it, and he said, sorry, hey. And
That's right, guys. She can call a pro player by his first name because she's
pro player.
ex-pro. The coach by his first name because she's friends with him.
Whatever, you're so funny, Nat T. God, you're a riot.
Oh my God, stop laughing, please.
He said that it was really nice having him on the team because Blitz doesn't play support. He is like a mid player. He loves his Storm Spirit. That's what everyone knows him for.
Will said that, right?
Of course.
Yeah. Word for
Will,
word.
that guy, Will.
Yeah, that guy,
Our
Will.
good friend William Blitzley. And like how it must be nice, right? You have Jerax, TI winner, like he's helping you with your support areas, like filling the gaps in your coaching. Like the team is progressing and getting better, and like it's good to have these resources.
It's good to see some of these faces back, like from being retired into playing, into coaching as well. The fire never dies.
Yeah, it'd be fun to, I hope it's not the end of Jerax's playing career though, Hopefully this coaching is just, just for this season maybe, but...
Midway point.
Yeah.
Midway point, yeah. Just a transition. That's
it's like dipping your toe back into the water and then you're like, actually, I kind of want to just go for a swim now.
I will say when it comes to coaches, I think Boom have like the best in the SA region.
Oh, yeah.
Mushi, every single player who plays with and under Mushi just has absolute utmost praise for him and what he brings to the table. Speaking of roles, he's played core, he's played support, he's played it all. He's played, mid. The only thing he hasn't played is offlane, as far as I know. But he's, I think, just that kind of like experienced veteran voice, and he's had many years of coaching experience now. So leading this like newly formed Boom squad to just tremendous success throughout the year.
Yeah, I love like looking into coaches. Like I feel like it's always a really good thing when you read like articles on teams and like the teams talk and do interviews and they always like refer to their coach. Like when a coach is really involved in how a team talks about their strategies, that makes me feel like a lot of confidence in them.
Do you think Scam is the kind of a guy that listens to the coach and everything he says? Because that man has a lot of ideas.
I think it's collaborative. And when it comes to Mushi, I mean, there's a bit of like the joke going around, like, they'll lose a game and Mushi's going to like bring them out back and, whip into shape, make sure, they get their head on. But
look at him. He doesn't strike me.
He's like, I know what Mushi told me. We're not going to draft that, though. I'm going to go something completely different. Absolutely. I was going to ask a question about the coaches, but we're going to have a look at this player comparison just quickly between Scam and Insania. And, with these stats and how you see, like, with the camp stack being very similar, even sort of with that vision game, does it paint the picture that these two are really similar in play style?
3 camps. These are rookie numbers.
I can't.
4 carries.
I honestly cannot believe my eyes. I believe that this is more likely switched because Insania having less average camp stacks. What the hell is happening?
Maybe it's because of the game length or something. Like that's always
it's this major.
Like, I think Boom's having longer games, so there's more time to maybe stack more.
I don't know.
Oh, so you're saying Scam's a worse support? Is that what you're saying, Gods?
Oh God,
No?
that's
ridiculous.
It's not about being a worse support. That's all Insania does. He stacks camps constantly. Like ever since they were alliance, like this guy would always make sure that they have a ton of those ancients, a ton of the camps stacked in the jungle. He's your look at him. He's the guy that
beautiful.
Right now he's thinking, how do I stack 5 camps with the Shadow Demon at the same time?
Do you know what I actually think it might be with the low camp stacked average? I think it's just it's easier for 4s to be the ones that go into the like triangle and stack the ancients and the hard camp, and like that's probably where the camp stack comes. I'd be very curious to see camp stacked stats for 4 players in this match rather than 5s. Okay. But that being said, yeah, get on it, bro. What are you doing? Like pick some puddle, go blast some camps.
Right?
This is pathetic, seriously.
As well as I was going to say one of those versatile heroes we talked about. Let's put it in there. Let's see stack some more camps. But circling back to our discussion about the coaches, how do you feel, their coaching style might differ between Boom and Liquid?
Well, Boom has 1, Liquid has 18 at this point.
Look at all.
How do you lose even? Like there's a football squad over there, like full football squad behind the PC.
It's a whole entourage.
Yeah.
I know like when people talk about Mushi and his style, it's very much like he has extremely high expectations and he will push you just to be like the best you can be. Like I know, like I talked with Palmlo, and he was saying that he took some coaching under Mushi, and it was very much like he makes sure that you're never like zoning out of a game, like you're thinking constantly about everything that's happening and making sure your efficiency is like peaking 100%, and that's very rigorous. Like I think Team Liquid have 3 different coaches who handle 3 different sorts of things.
I love that you mentioned focus and these layers of focus. I remember some of my teams, I had players that would alt-tab during their dead time.
Really?
Check the Facebook, the DMs a little bit, you know. If any girls are hitting him up, then come back. Oh, I'm alive, let's go.
All right, these guys are even worse at stacking cash.
I was going to say, you got the stat that you wanted, but
no.
1.63 and then 1.69. I mean,
This is just awful.
This patch is not about stacking.
All right, yeah, I was gonna say I can theorize even more now, guys. Maybe it's
Let's do it.
Maybe it's just the carry heroes. Lone Druid, he doesn't care about camps stacked. He doesn't want to. He wants to run at buildings. Although I will say, like Bristleback, he does. Yeah, but I'm just gonna ignore that for my storyline.
that one didn't happen.
Yeah, ancients aren't stacked as much as they used to be. I guess that's also something, right?
Yeah, it used to be there was a lot of hard carries. Medusas were so popular, and 4s would just constantly go back, stack ancients, go back to lane.
Right now, you stack in a pub, they flame you. Like, why are you stacking? I can't farm this anymore. So the meta has changed a little bit when it comes to those stacks.
I'm running out of points to talk about. I'm not going to lie here. You know,
All right.
It doesn't matter because coordinator is back up.
I was going to say I got the info in my ear that the coordinator was back up. It might be 2 minutes. That was probably about 5 minutes ago. So
All right, I can just rehash old points I said in previous series. So
you didn't have to preface it. You could have been like, I have brand new ideas.
I have a brand new idea to say.
Please, Sheep. I'm on the edge of my seat.
So, if you watch the Riyadh Masters, 9 did a lovely panel, and he really talked about how important side lanes are, guys. So, like, let's talk about the side lanes. He said that mid is so easy now with how much regen you get and how hard it is to lose the lane that he thinks it's more important having supports that can rotate to the mid lane. And we see a team like Liquid. Zai has literally been left alone for his entire life. I don't even know if he has a lane partner. I think it's very good for...
That's a sad story.
I don't know. He's so good at coming back from like the worst.
I didn't expect these kind of feelings on the panel.
Like a roller coaster of emotions. What is
Zai?
Poor Zai.
Somebody give him a hug, please.
But I think that's effective, right? You have Boxy, who's really good at these roaming 4s. He'll play the Mossy, the Dawn, Tiny, heroes that can just go to mid. Yeah. And like Zai's going to be absolutely fine with that. He's used to it. It's his playstyle. I think they work really well together in that regard. It meshes with this patch. On the side of Boom, I don't know. I feel like FBZ maybe requires a little bit more babysitting sometimes, but he does get left alone sometimes too.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the heroes that really capitalize on that rotation that you talk about that need to maybe enact that playstyle?
I just said them.
On the mid lane, or on the
you said Boxy.
Yes, you were talking about force.
For Tim's, I'd love to see like some Mirana. Like that's. I just feel like Mirana's been criminally underpicked and underplayed. Like where is the Tim's Mirana? He played I think 1 game in the group.
I was going to say how many times we have seen it at least once. Is it only once?
I think it might be twice.
Okay.
Only because I think we had this conversation before the last one, but I could be completely wrong.
I think more important thing is like who are you playing on the offlane when you have that position 4 that can roam.
Yeah.
It's not on the position 4 that can roam. Is it allowed to roam? Because sometimes you have to stay there. Some heroes cannot be abandoned. Like you just cannot leave them. Let's say a Viper early on. That's not a hero that you can leave in some lanes. Or he's just gonna feed or be completely zoned out. But some hero benefits from the experience. If you can just mess up the equilibrium a little bit, you're supposed to leave him so he gets that level 6 faster.
Yeah, that's true. In terms of offlaners for Zai in the past, I've seen like even a hero like Pango. I think Pango is kind of a weak laner, especially alone. But you can find impact, right? Like as soon as Zai has level 6 on any ult hero, he can just walk to mid or go to like TP react and use that ult to get kills, and it doesn't matter. My panel's playing catch. This is disgusting.
It just hit me in the face. I missed it and it hit me in the face.
Speaking of getting hit in the face, how about Pudge?
No, don't bring that up on my panel, please.
All right.
It's a hero
We got
that
a
Liquid
draft.
It
We
is.
got a draft, everyone.
It is. We do have a draft, though.
Ding,
Finally, we can jump in. I feel like we've given the whole history, the whole rendition of these two teams way past this major. So finally, this draft, Lone Druid, Winter Wyvern, and that's all we got of the draft so far, those two bands.
Makes sense. Lone Druid, big. Who has first pick?
Boom. Liquid have second pick.
Maybe we do see that puck.
Maybe we see it banned here as well, right? Like, or picked up by Boom. They ban out the Razor instead. What would be better for Liquid to ban than the puck?
You could ban one of those. There was Marcy heroes.
Marcy Tiny.
Or
Dawnbreaker.
I like that because FBZ plays it and Jackie plays it, so it's very flexible for Boom.
Yeah, but this is, I love the thought process that perhaps might be behind this. Just leave the puck in and see if they pick it. If they don't pick it, we can actually go for it. Or we don't even have to worry about that puck anymore because we know that they're not first phasing it.
Yeah, I mean, they did take Tiny, which is like a preventative measure. I think a lot of teams are still very comfortable playing puck into the Tiny, but still, Tiny's a great hero against puck. You can put it mid, and you get that burst. It's very nice.
Yeah, I think not just that as well. Like Liquid have shown quite a lot of favoritism towards it too. They like picking it up in the first phase. So it's one of those things that preventative, but they also really like it too.
This could be our Death Prophet Shaker. Yeah, there we go. Instantly going back to the meta of the major, I would say, right? Like you get that offlaner that benefits a lot from the fissure blocks, an offlaner that actually can be left by the Shaker once the lane equilibrium is in her favor.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about this is it shows me that Liquid's looking at what's succeeding and not just trying to like force their play style and their picks. Because a lot of teams will like double down, like, no, this is us. We just got to stick to our identity. But Liquid, even throughout the groups, they played like a very big, wide range of hero. There was nothing they picked more than like 5 or 6 times. So they're willing to adjust and try stuff that's working for other teams.
Yeah, is that Shaker above 50% win rate yet? Anyone know? Anyone?
He's climbing.
If you give me 3 seconds, I will find out.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ever since Gods proclaimed it the worst hero in the history of Dota at the moment.
It's been winning.
Yeah, but you need 2 stats. Urshica's win rate and Urshica's win rate without Jin Q. If you remove Jin Q, and then we're still looking at like 30%, I think.
Okay, it's on 47% right now, so it hasn't reached 50.
We're close.
But that's
This could be the game.
That's including LGDs.
Yeah. Get rid of LGD, and I want to hear some numbers.
That's cruel. That's cruel.
One hero that I've seen more banned than picked at the current tournament, but maybe that's just the games that I've been able to follow, is the Chaos Knight, right? Like, he's been banned quite a bit, but I haven't seen way too many picks. However, I have seen every single player that's a position 1 at this tournament practicing it in pubs. Like, they love it. They think that the hero is obviously some flavor of the meta.
Yeah, lost Stockholm. He was also super popular too. And like Blitz said that Liquid didn't have that in their arsenal back then. So like going into this major, they wanted to expand their pools. And I like seeing that. Like even now, this Shaker, it's not like been massively picked by them before now. I definitely like it a lot. Like if you get this Shaker and you play it in like a tiny way, like this is a big thing, right? In the past, Shaker, you buy the boots and you would do the wave dragging. And whilst that's still a thing, a way you can play, if you buy regen on the Shaker now, you can just go to lane, you do the double Fissure block, the wave is back, and then you, on the first 2 waves, are actually quite strong. And you can trade with the heroes, especially with a DP who's also going to be strong, and just like trade. And that's like a very good timing for you in the lane.
Yeah, I think you need to make sure that like wave stays in a safe place so you can get those early levels, because I think while Shaker can do that, I still think overall he's not a very strong laner. And that's something that I think for Boom, they're recognizing that. That's why they pick Chaos Knight. This is a hero that can punish the lane, basically be a kill lane against a hero like Death Prophet Shaker, where these heroes just want to maybe play the lane more passively.
So basically, what you do with a Shaker in a lane such as that one, you're kind of in the trees, you're saving your fissure, you're never really using it aggressively.
Yeah.
The moment DP gets gone on, you use that fissure to break apart the fight. She siphons and runs away. So it's as a sort of a safe laner. He's pretty good at the moment, but he doesn't really pressure the lane that much. However, a hero that does pressure the lanes quite a lot very early on that position 5 is Chen. And that's something that we have seen with the Death Prophet, with the Razor Shaker, Death Prophet Shaker, Viper Shaker. You get a lot of sustain from him as well. And sometimes Death Prophet, that's all she needs, right? She needs just a little bit of that save so that she can pop her Yules, BKB, and ulti.
Mm-hmm. Do you think there is a really good hero that can be paired with Earthshaker when we get to the later game, when it comes more to that team fight? Or does DP also have that covered?
Ooh. I mean, Shaker doesn't necessarily need like a load of damage dumped on the Echo Slam because the Echo Slam itself is loads of damage. I think he is just like a very good utility hero. Like he dissuades the puck, obviously, because he has like, you can stun from fog very easily. When you see him put here against the Tiny, like Tiny loves to toss people back in our position, right? Fisher is a really long range way to disengage those types of fights. So I really love this in response. Also, CK, I mean, he's got illusions, man. He's kind of setting this Earthshaker up for some success, despite the laning point, right?
Do you think that we need more than the Earthshaker to deal with the CK?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. I think Echo Slam is, it's not what it quite was like 5 years ago.
Yeah. It's more of a question mark at the end now when he uses the ulti. Echo Slam? All right.
We're coming near the end.
Is that all?
Yeah.
Going near the end of this ban phase, and that puck is still in the pool. It's not really being looked at by either team right now. Do you think it is potentially going to go fully ignored?
It might go. Like I think Mickey only played it 3 times, right? Yeah. So they're not. It's not like they're picking it every single game they can, but there is bans to consider too.
They don't get the Chen, they get the Enchantress. It's not necessarily the same way of playing. Like Enchantress is way less greedy at this point, even though it was reverse once upon a time. But I feel like she is a little bit of a better laner at the moment, at least.
Yeah. I really love the Ench pick. I love it, A, because it makes it hard for CK to burst her because of that untouchable. It also is a hero that can use creeps and her own body to provide vision on the map for Shaker to get those good initiations. You can bait in with yourself, right?
I could nerd out about this matchup.
Chen versus Ench.
Chen,
I feel like I'm back in
Let's go, please.
13.
This is your time to shine.
Let it
Listen.
No. Let's not go there. Overall, for Team Liquid, I feel like they just let this Viper plus Tiny go through. Boom got both of them plus the Chen. I feel that this is the meta right now being played by Boom Esports.
Their draft looks super scary. Like this Viper Tiny lane, and they play out. Like I don't hate the Alchemist pick, but it's going to be a tough lane if this is safe lane out.
I've seen a lot of games in which Alchemist is safe lane versus Viper go extremely poorly for him, in a way that he just gets crushed and needs to be relegated to that jungle area very, very early on.
Yeah.
But you do have Enchantress.
Yes, that's the big part. I know, like from some of the games Jenkins casting, he's like, Enchantress can potentially negate the Viper factor. Like if there's a 5 position you want against to secure an Alch's lane, Enchantress, there's like no better than an Enchantress.
Yeah. You have like the problem where you are on Radiant, so it's harder for Alch to farm camps as effectively as on Dire, but you do have an Ench. So we memed a lot about camp stacking, but if this game Shaker or Ench are able to just stack any camp when they're going and moving around on the map, it would be really good for Liquid's catch-up game post Viper lane.
I'm going to take a stab in the dark here, looking for 2 mid laners. What do you guys feel is going to be best? Do we need some of that backline? Do we need someone a little bit more take? Like, what is each team missing for this mid laner that they have to fill?
I think both teams are missing a puck.
It is still there, right? Like this kind of blows my mind, considering Liquid's one of their favorite pairings right now is that puck and that Enchantress.
For Boom as well, getting a hero that can get across the fissure early on in the game could be nice. So none of these heroes that get just blocked out and killed out by the enemy position 2. But do you need to think that way? You don't, but at the same time, those heroes are also good. Like all these playmakers that you mentioned usually have repositioning tools.
I think the main other option, if Boom don't want to go that direction, is maybe if they want to go for like some of those tanky mids so they can kind of death ball around the Chen. Like they like to play Kunkka, for example. Like these kind of more frontliney ones, whereas Puck, you kind of like, hit and run, going on the back lines some more.
I wouldn't mind that. The only problem for me would be perhaps if you're tanky, you lack something, right? And usually you lack damage if you do go for those full tanky builds.
Yeah.
It can work. They banned the Kunkka themselves, actually. I feel like getting more damage on Boom perhaps would be a little better.
I have seen Yopaj playing Invoker a fair few times this tournament, and I kind of like the idea of like a Quaswex Vessel Invoker running around just trying to beat out Liquid's timings, because right now I'm scared. BKB going to come out on DP around like 15 minutes. Alk's going to hit that Radiance BKB around 15 minutes. Earthshake is going to try and get his Blink between 15 and 20 minutes, and when they have all these items, Boomer's going to struggle. They're very immobile as a team.
So are you thinking like Parker is double down on that immobility and go for full snowball effect, or... Because that's one way of dealing with it. Like I don't necessarily disagree with what Parker called out. It might be a little bit harder to execute, however.
It is quite scary. Boom definitely have like damage mitigation with the Chen heal right now. So maybe if they just have something here that can re-engage really well when Liquid like try and go on them, like they get gone on, they heal up, and then they just catch you back. A hero like that would be.
I was about to say, what if we were going to see a Yopaj Tiny mid and they look for a 4? There we go. It's potential with that Tusk there. And Liquid now, they see most likely what their matchups are going to be. What's the retaliation?
I think first you're scared against this Viper and Tusk, because if Tiny and Viper are difficult to lane against, Tusk and Viper, they're not any easier.
Oh boy.
Oh, last pick Timber.
Yeah.
They can death profit mid if they want this Timber off lane. And we talked about needing more against the CK.
Oh, it's
and
mid Timber.
Oh my
Timber
goodness.
brings it. Like that's a hero that can make CK's life very miserable.
I love it. And also, like, Nine talked about this mid Timber saw. It is, like, probably one of the only mid heroes that can not only pressure the mid hero alone, but also pressure the tower alone. Like, he does not need these big rotations if they want to focus on their side lanes.
Yeah, the problem, you don't have this opportunity of switching up the lanes and putting Viper against him. I don't think so, at least. Maybe there's a world in which you can even go Jackie off lane with the Tusk, with the Chen, Tiny safe lane, Viper mid, but I think the Viper's point here is to pressure the Alchemist as well, right, with the Tusk. So you don't really have that maneuverability.
How do you feel these lanes, how they're going to go and how it's going to transition into the later game? Where are you putting your favorites?
Ooh, I still think this Viper lane is strong, but I'm slightly leaning towards Liquid. I think the way they set this draft up and got this last pick Timber plus the Edge being enough to secure Matu a good lane, and more importantly, it's Alki. He's going to catch up in the jungle. I'll give Liquid like 60-40 favorites on the draft.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think like the timing on Liquid is too scary for Boom. I don't know how they're meant to deal with it. They need to crush their lanes so hard and then just like dominate the map space.
I'll be the odd one out. I'll go with Boom game one. I feel that if their lanes do go well, they could crush the game before Alchemist comes online.
Yeah, they could just absolutely run away with it. But for now, we're going to run over to our casters. It is Lyrical and Trent.
Thank you so much, Nat, and the wonderful panel. Trent, we got one of the most hyped games of all time. Winner goes to TI. One of these teams they absolutely have to win if they want to get in for the direct points. How you feeling?
This is what you want with the DPC. Yes. This is what we come to. Come to our lands, right? Get the big points, make it all the way. And so this is the chance. For Liquid, they need to be victorious here. To make it Boom, it'll be out of their hands at that point.
Exactly.
And but if they just win it, just secure it right now. This is your chance. So a humongous series for both teams.
And it's not just these teams either. It's all of those respective regions teams. I saw on there a lot of Southeast Asian teams. They don't want to play against Boom in those qualifiers. They want to get there on their own merits and have a couple more spots. Right now, it's Fnatic and Boom, the only ones. If they're both out, then there's no TI teams that are coming from C through the direct qualification of points. But let's get into this game number 1. As Liquid head out across the map, picking this last pick, Timbersaw, and a little bit of a switch up, but a pretty devastating one against all these strength melee cores.
Yeah, Boom had their options. Obviously, you can only go so far in the drafting phase when you don't have that final pick. And they started out with the Tiny, and in the end, they did decide to give that to Yopaj. And essentially what that says is that they really believed that the Tim's hero was going to be super important here, and they weren't very concerned about getting counterpicked in the mid lane on this Tiny. It was kind of apparent at that point that that was very likely to be the mid hero. And so they just put a lot of value into Tim's Tusk here. And of course, Tusk Chen has been an extremely powerful combination over the past couple of years. And that is something that can help you snowball your way to a victory before someone like this Alchemist can come online.
If they can keep that momentum going, like Lizard said, win those lanes, and that's the recipe for Boom's success. And on the other side, Liquid trying to hold out, get the Alchemist big and strong, and Boom, after standing up on that high ground, none of Liquid are going to rotate in. They are going to head on over and pick up the bounty runes instead. There might still be a bit of a battle here. We'll see. Just outside of vision. Actually, they're going to run down bottom instead, so this could end up being 3. Although also Zai's heading over. Skem. Going to see if he can outclick there. Liquid managed to find 2. Boom on the other side, only getting the 1, and they'll pick up 2 as well.
Yeah, and Zai, of course, unfortunately unaware that he could have just gone up there and grabbed that one himself there too. But Skem will come around, happily see that it's still there. We go for 2 for starts.
So there was some questions about if there are going to be any lane swap-ups going on, but it looks like they're just going to try and play this one straight on Boom, and they're going to have to deal with the Timber Saw in the lane. Could be a bit tough for Yopaj, though.
We've been seeing what's been happening with these Timber Saws just in a side lane who get a solo situation where they're able to pull the lanes apart, farm the lane, pull the wave into a jungle camp, and then farm through that. As well, and they get off this accelerated start which really increases their pressure across the entire map, and so that's something that Mickey's also going to be able to do here from the mid lane.
He can get some space open, and then obviously the big thing is this Whirling Death taking away all that HP from Yopaj and also continuing to mitigate his last hitting potential, but starting with a lot of base damage on that Tiny. Other lanes that we should watch for, up on the top side actually, they managed to find a quick little courier snipe. So Boxy moves on in, takes that down, and Skem and Jackie gonna have to make do with a little bit less regen. There. As Zai, a couple punches, forced out of the lane. Boxy goes on in to secure the range creep.
Yeah, that was nice. No panic Fisher there, just to like prevent any damage on the Zai. Instead, securing the range creep, and now you've gained some damage on the.
Insania takes some punches. Tim's indeed a couple more punches, and Matumba Man draws first blood on the out.
You heard the panel saying, there have been situations where catches them at just level 1. They don't get the combination as well from the Tusk, of course, but certainly a great start there for Liquid.
Spamming out that wave and getting that level really nice. As Yopaj heads on over, will pick up a refill and head on back to lane. Mickey does not have trying to pick up a Soul Ring next. Mainly just that bottom lane that's
yeah, meanwhile, you just got careful. Boxy very happy with the situation.
To pull through, and actually Zai gonna pull the wave behind the tower to connect up with the rest of it. They will. Skem comes in, so this is all behind the tower. This is great right now.
I mean, Boxy's got more last hits than Zai at this point.
That's the classic. That's what we've seen. And yeah, indeed, they're going to keep pulling that around. Need to find a way to. It's just so hard when you can get those like fast-moving heroes messing with the equilibrium. But again, Mickey in the mid lane, 12-5 versus the 15-7. So it hasn't really been a super hard counter pick yet. Yopaj still doing very well in the mid lane.
Yeah, we'll have to watch though as level 2 Whirling Death. He's going to keep pushing, harassing with that, and then when the 4-minute runes come up, you imagine that's. So see if any supports decide to come mid for that. Yopaj still has a boundary rune inside his jungle. I don't know if Boxy. Because obviously his Timber hasn't had the urgency to get there due to the.
And up top to try and grab another wave. At least they're able to zone him back. Skem was doing a good job sending those creeps over. matchup for them. Jackie very low. Needs to get some lifesteal off some of those creeps or something.
I feel like being 0-0-0 at 5.5 minutes is probably not good for a 9th pick Tusk.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
It puts a lot of pressure